Quit faking it, my dad snapped while I was literally having a heart attack. And when the ambulance finally showed up, the EMT checked my pulse, but even then my dad kept insisting I was just trying to run from responsibility. Yeah, that was last Thanksgiving. My own family watched me nearly collapse from a cardiac episode, and instead of helping, they accused me of faking it because I wouldn't hand over money. Messed up, right? But honestly, as insane as it sounds, it turned out to be the best thing that ever happened to me. Let me back up. I'm Rick, 26 meters. I work in software development. I busted my ass through college, and now I make pretty decent money. But here's the medical piece you need to understand first. At 18, I was diagnosed with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Basically, my heart muscles are thicker than they should be. I found out the hard way. I was playing pickup basketball, went up for a layup, and the next thing I knew, I was face first on the court while my friends screamed for someone to call 911. Later, the cardiologist explained it like this: my heart is basically a drama queen. Stress sets it off. Sometimes it's just chest pressure. Sometimes I can't breathe. Sometimes it feels like my heart is trying to claw its way out of my rib cage. Most days, it's fine. But when it acts up, it goes nuclear. Now, you'd think family would understand, right? Nope. My parents never really got it. To them, my condition was just some heart problems that occasionally made me inconvenient. My dad would roll his eyes at doctor appointments. My mom would sigh like I was ruining her day by having a genetic condition. And then there's Noah, my younger brother. He's 24, still living in their basement, and he's burned through more jobs than a tornado through a trailer park. He's been an aspiring YouTuber, tried door-to-door sales, and now he's finding himself, translation, smoking weed and playing video games while mom brings him chicken tenders. 2 years ago, after I landed my current job, the money requests started. At first, it was casual. Can you grab some groceries? Or the electric bill's higher this month. Always framed as that's just what good sons do. Then Noah's car died, and suddenly I became the family mechanic fund. Roof needed work. I was now the emergency contractor budget. Before long, every family dinner turned into a PowerPoint presentation about some financial crisis I needed to fix. And yeah, I was stupid enough to help at first. It felt good being the successful one while Noah explained to mom why Subway fired him for creative differences with management. But here's the thing, once people know you've got money, they start calculating exactly how much of their problems you should be solving. Spoiler that math never works in your favor. Last year I started saying no, and suddenly I was public enemy number one. Every conversation turned into an interrogation. What do you even need all that money for? You're just sitting on it while your family struggles. We sacrificed everything for you growing up, and this is how you repay us. The guilt trips went professional grade. My mom perfected this wounded bird routine, talking about how she lay awake at night worrying about bills while I was living it up. My dad made little digs about how I thought I was better than everyone else with my fancy job, and Noah he'd smirk from the sidelines. Must be nice not worrying about money. Some of us have real problems. So I started avoiding family dinners. Cue the outrage. Suddenly, I was the ungrateful son who'd abandoned his roots. Mom blew up my phone with daily guilt texts about missing Sunday dinners. Dad left voicemails about family responsibility. Noah sent memes about selfish siblings. Meanwhile, my cardiologist had given me one standing rule: avoid high conflict situations. And guess what Thanksgiving is? 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, my mom launched her biggest guilt campaign yet. Daily texts, voicemails that sounded like hostage videos. You need to be here, Rick. Family comes first. This might be our last Thanksgiving together. Noah's really struggling, and seeing you would mean the world. That last one almost made me laugh. Noah and I hadn't had a real conversation in months unless you count him asking for money or mocking me. But of course, I caved. Thursday afternoon, I pulled into their driveway like an idiot. Same beige house that gave up on maintenance back in 2003. Bushes growing like they'd declared independence. Noah's beat-up Honda parked front and center because God forbid the unemployed prince walked an extra 10 feet. Inside smelled like turkey, canned cranberry sauce, and that aggressive cinnamon air freshener mom sprays like she's covering up a crime scene. Dad was in his recliner, drink in hand, football blaring loud enough to wake the dead. He gave me the same half-hearted wave he's been giving me since I was 12. Mom nearly tackled me with Publishers Clearinghouse enthusiasm. "Oh honey, you made it. I was so worried you'd change your mind again." Then Noah emerged from the kitchen, beer in hand, already a few drinks deep. "Well, look who decided to grace us with his presence." Must have been a slow day in Tech Bro Land. Dinner was exactly what I expected, a masterclass in passive-aggressive warfare. Dad casually mentioned the furnace making weird noises. Meaningful look. Mom brought up how expensive groceries were. Heavy sigh. Noah bragged about being selective with his job search, like employers were lining up to hire someone with his record of being fired for showing up late. Finally, Dad put down his fork. "We've danced around it long enough. We need to talk about you stepping up more. I don't live here anymore, Dad. Don't be a smartass." His face was already turning red, the prelude to a screaming match. "Your mother and I are struggling. Noah's going through a rough patch. Meanwhile, you're sitting pretty, acting like you don't owe anybody anything." Here it was. The annual Rick Needs to Bankroll Everyone's Poor Choices presentation. Mom chimed in with her perfected wounded voice. "We sacrificed so much for you growing up, honey. We're just asking for help when we need it most." I tried to stay calm. "I had to. I helped with the roof last spring. I bought Mom's tires in August. I'm not ignoring the family. That's peanuts compared to what you could be doing," Noah sneered, leaning back like he was judge and jury. "You make more in a month than I see all year. Maybe if you kept a job longer than 3 months, that ratio would improve." The room temperature dropped 20. Dad's face went full tomato. And this was exactly the kind of stress that triggered my episodes. My chest was tightening. "You think you're real clever, don't you? Acting like you earned everything yourself." Dad was shouting now. I could feel the arrhythmia coming. Heart racing, irregular rhythm. My chest felt heavy. The room started shrinking. "I'm not doing this today." "Yes, you are," Dad stood, pointing at me like I was on trial. "You're going to explain why you think you're too good to help your family." The chest pressure was unbearable. Breathing felt like sucking air through a straw. "I think I need to call my doctor." "Oh, please." Noah rolled his eyes so hard I thought they'd fall out. Here we go with the drama queen routine. Mom actually laughed. "Every time someone confronts you, suddenly you have health problems." But this wasn't anxiety. This wasn't a performance. This was my heart going into full meltdown. "I need to call 911. "You're not calling anybody," Dad barked, stepping toward me. "Quit faking it." That's when I knew. My family cared more about winning an argument than whether I lived or died. I dialed anyway, hands shaking. 911. "What's your emergency?" "I have a heart condition. I'm having chest pain and difficulty breathing." Dad actually tried to grab my phone. Not kidding. In the middle of my cardiac episode, this man tried to physically stop me from calling for help. "Hang up right now. You're embarrassing this family." I staggered away, gave the dispatcher the address. Mom was crying, but not from worry. From anger. "You're going to regret this, making us look like monsters in front of paramedics." Noah? He had his phone out, filming me. My medical emergency was content for his Instagram story. The EMTs arrived in 8 minutes, but it felt like 8 hours. The lead tech, a woman in her 40s, took one look at me and went into full business mode. Oxygen, vitals, portable 12 lead. The machine spat out ugly strips of paper that don't lie. Symptomatic arrhythmia on HCMIM patient. "Transport now." My partner hooked me up and the beeping confirmed it. Irregular tachycardia. The urgency in his voice said it all. This was real. Dad still tried to argue. "He's faking it. This is attention-seeking," because we were having a family discussion about responsibility. The EMT looked at him like he just said the earth was flat. "Sir, your son's heart rhythm is dangerously irregular. We're taking him to the hospital." They loaded me onto the stretcher while Mom wailed for the neighbors. "It's probably just stress. You know how he gets when anyone asks him to be accountable." Dad complained about the ambulance blocking his driveway. Noah filmed, muttering, "Unreal. Even on Thanksgiving, you have to make everything about you. A T." The hospital, their team was the exact opposite of my family, professional, competent, and actually concerned about whether I lived. Monitors, for meds, explanations. "You're having a significant cardiac event related to your HCMIM. Not a heart attack, but serious arrhythmia aggravated by stress." They tagged my chart with a no-info password and even noted medical harassment on the whiteboard. Translation: limit visitors, keep the toxic family out. For the first 2 hours, it was peaceful. Nurses checked on me. Monitors beeped steadily. For once, no one was demanding I justify financial decisions while I was hooked up to machines. Then, my family showed up. Not to check on me, not to ask if I was okay, but to continue the argument. Mom walked in, arms crossed. "You're fine, so let's finish what we started at dinner." Dad loomed behind her. "You really think pulling this stunt gets you out of doing right by your family?" And Noah still filming. "Everyone needs to see what kind of person you really are." The nurse heard the shouting and stepped in. "He's resting," she said firmly. But I already knew, rest or not, my family wasn't ever going to change. "Lower your voices or security escorts you out." They kept talking. Security escorted them out. My phone started blowing up around PM voicemails, texts, calls from relatives who'd apparently been drafted into this mess. Dad's voicemail was particularly unhinged. "You think you can embarrass your family in public and get away with it? I'm going to tell everyone the truth about what kind of son you really are." Mom went full victim mode. "I can't stop crying. My own son tried to have me arrested for caring about him. This is breaking my heart." Noah left a rambling message about how I'd regret making them look bad in front of strangers. I saved every single message. Around midnight, my best friend Leo showed up, the kind of guy who doesn't ask questions when you need help. He just shows up and handles business. "Heard you had some excitement today. My family's completely lost their minds. They were always nuts, brother. Question is, what are you going to do about it?" Leo works in project management and has this gift for cutting through chaos to focus on solutions. "You document everything from tonight?" he asked. I showed him my phone notes and saved voicemails. "Good. Keep doing that. Tomorrow we're talking to a lawyer." "You think it's that serious, dude?" "They refused to call 911 while you were having a heart attack, then showed up at the hospital to continue harassing you about money." "Yeah, it's that serious." He spent the next hour researching family harassment attorneys. Found 3 with solid reviews and restraining order experience. "I'll drive you to consultations next week. This ends now, before leaving around a.m. Leo talked to the nurse about restricting visitor access and made sure his number was programmed as my emergency contact. For the first time in years, I had someone in my corner who actually gave a damn whether I lived or died. That's when I knew there was no going back to normal. Normal had tried to kill me. Got discharged Friday morning with new medications and strict orders to avoid stress. Leo picked me up and drove straight to our first attorney consultation because we weren't messing around anymore. Emily's office was exactly what you'd want in a lawyer. Diplomas on the wall, calm scene. This is before energy. "What you're describing is textbook harassment with a medical endangerment component," she said after reviewing my documentation. "This isn't a family drama. It's a legal issue." She walked us through the game plan. The process was boring in the best way: certified letters with return receipts, then an ex parte hearing for a temporary restraining order that set no contact and no third-party contact, plus a specific clause against interfering with medical care. Full hearing in about 2 weeks. Service by the sheriff. Copies for me, 1 for work, 1 for the building desk. If they tested the edges, the escalation path was already written. Cease and desist letters first, giving them 1 chance to back off voluntarily. If they kept up the harassment, restraining orders. The evidence I'd collected would make the case practically a slam dunk. You've got timestamps, witness statements, medical records showing stress impact, and recorded evidence of them interfering with emergency medical care, Emily explained. Most judges see a case like this maybe once a year. We covered practical stuff too, removing them from my medical information access, changing emergency contacts, blocking employment information access, basically building a wall between me and their chaos. Do you want to pursue this?" she asked. "Let's burn it all down." The cease and desist letters were drafted by Monday, sent Tuesday via certified mail to my parents, Noah, and even Aunt Celeste, who'd started sending guilt trip texts. Each letter was customized with their specific harassment incidents and referenced state laws they'd be violating. Wednesday, I hit the bank to change emergency contacts. Thursday was the hospital for medical records updates and hyper restrictions. Friday, I met with HR to document the situation and prevent my family from calling for employment information. We filed the petition and exhibits on Monday and asked for an ex parte temporary restraining order. The judge reviewed it off calendar. and signed the TRO on Tuesday. On Wednesday, the sheriff served my parents and Noah with 1. The signed TRO, and 2. The notice of the full hearing set for about 2 weeks out. From service forward, any contact would be a violation. My phone went absolutely ballistic that evening. 17 missed calls, multiple voicemails, progressively more unhinged texts. Every message got saved and forwarded to my lawyer, Dad's. Voicemail was pure gold. You think you can use lawyers to threaten your own family? I know people too. And when I'm done with you, you'll never work in this town again. Mom tried manipulation. I can't believe my own son is trying to get his mother arrested. After everything I've sacrificed, this is destroying me. Noah, you better drop this. Legal right now. You have no idea what you're starting. Even Aunt Celeste got involved. Your parents are devastated. How can you be so cruel to people who love you? Every threatening message, every guilt trip, every intimidation attempt documented. By Thursday, we had enough new material to file an additional motion showing continued harassment after legal notice. The judge had already signed the TRO ex parte. Friday was just me getting stamped copies and confirming the full hearing date. It covered no contact, no third-party contact, no relaying messages, stay away from my home and workplace, and a specific line barring interference with my medical care. For the first time in months, my phone was quiet over the weekend. The peace lasted exactly 8 days. Aunt Celeste started the counterattack with a social media campaign. She posted in the family Facebook group about how I was attacking my own parents with lawyers and had lost all sense of family values. She tagged extended relatives, family friends, even neighbors. My cousin Jenny called Tuesday morning. "What's this about you suing Uncle David and Aunt Caroline?" "I'm not suing anybody. I got a restraining order because they won't stop harassing me about money." That's not what Celeste is saying. She's posting that you're trying to have your parents arrested over a disagreement. This was exactly what my lawyer warned about, the smear campaign designed to make me back down. Time for the nuclear option. I spent Wednesday evening putting together what Leo called the truth packet. Documented facts in chronological order, the 911 call summary showing they refused to help during my medical emergency, hospital incident. Reports, screenshots of threatening voicemails with timestamps, copies of certified mail receipts for the cease and desist letters they'd ignored. No accusations beyond documented facts, just a timeline and a brief note. Some of you have received incomplete information about my recent situation. These documents provide the actual facts. I shared a 4-page PDF once with extended family, and because they'd been looped in, the pastor and the HOA chair, it included a timeline, the 911. The packet went out with everything summary. The note, short voicemail excerpts, and even the signed TRO clean, clear, and with a subject line that made sure nobody could miss what it was about. The response was almost immediate, and honestly, beautiful. Cousin Jenny called back within 2 hours. "Holy hell, Rick, I had no idea it was this bad. Most people didn't. That was the point. That's why I had to lay it all out in black and white. Uncle David threatened your job? That's completely insane." And then it started snowballing. Relatives who'd only been hearing Celeste's version reached out. Uncle Tom actually called to apologize for not checking with me before taking sides. My parents' neighbor Beth texted me saying she had no idea there'd even been a medical emergency because, of course, my parents had conveniently left that part out. The church moved the fastest. Pastor Peter ended up calling my mom that weekend. I only knew because she left me a screaming voicemail. "I can't believe you turned the entire congregation against us. You've destroyed our reputation in this community." Aunt Celeste tried to double down on Facebook, calling me a liar and claiming the documents were fake. Huge mistake. Several relatives had actually been there for different incidents and could confirm I wasn't exaggerating. My cousin Liam, her own son, commented on her post, "Mom, I was there for the Easter argument last year. Rick's not making any of this up. That was basically the kill shot. The fallout was fast and brutal." Thanksgiving hosting? Quietly. Moved to Uncle Tom's house. Mom? Removed from the church planning committee. The neighborhood invites they'd always thrived on dried up overnight. Leo and I celebrated the best way possible over his famous chili. We watched the Lakers lose, and for the first time in forever, my phone stayed quiet. "You think this is over?" he asked. "Probably not. But if they keep going, they're only going to make themselves look even more insane in public. I was right. It wasn't over. 2 weeks later, Aunt Celeste showed up at my apartment complex demanding a conversation about family healing and lecturing me about how abandoning my parents was a sin. The front desk called before letting her up. Tell her I'm not available. Ask her to leave. She refused. Of course. Instead, she started making a scene in the lobby about being denied access to her nephew. Security escorted her out while she screamed about lawyers and betrayal. I filed an incident report, forwarded it to my lawyer, and 3 days later Celeste had her own restraining order. Game, set, match. The truth packet did more damage to their empire than I could have imagined. Turns out when people have documented facts in front of them, 911 records, hospital reports, voicemails, they don't buy emotional manipulation anymore. Within 2 weeks, my parents' entire social circle imploded. Church had been their biggest outlet, and suddenly people were polite but distant. Mom was quietly removed from women's ministry leadership. Dad stopped getting invited to the guys' fishing trips, and the hoa, brutal. My parents had been neighborhood busybodies for years, reporting code violations, nitpicking over lawns. Nobody had liked them, they just tolerated it. But once people saw proof, they'd refuse to call 911 while I was in cardiac distress. Tolerance turned to disgust. Beth, the neighbor who'd lived next door for 15 years, told cousin Jenny she couldn't even look at my parents the same way. What kind of people refuse to help their own son during a medical emergency over money? That social isolation gutted my mom. She had always fed off being seen as the devoted mother, the community pillar. Now her image was shredded, and she spiraled. Angry Facebook rants about ungrateful children and people believing lies only made it worse. Extended family started screenshotting everything, comparing her posts to my documented evidence. The contrast wasn't flattering. Dad, meanwhile, leaned harder into his persecution complex. He told anyone who would listen that I'd hired lawyers to destroy the family because I was too selfish to help when needed, but most people had seen the evidence. They knew he was full of it. Noah tried chasing clout. He made TikToks about toxic family members who abandon you when you need them most. The comments were chaos, half people believing him, half people calling him out with receipts. The video got deleted within 24 hours. Leo and I treated the whole thing like reality TV. Takeout, popcorn, scrolling through Facebook comment wars. One night, we watched Aunt Celeste argue with 3 different relatives at once. This is better than Netflix, Leo laughed. Your cousin just dropped receipts proving his mom lied about the timeline. The lines were clear now. Team Rick had documentation, medical records, and witnesses. Team Parents had guilt trips and increasingly desperate lies. Guess which side was winning? 3 months later, I ran into Rowan, an old high school friend, at the grocery store. Dude, what the hell happened with your parents? My mom said something about lawyers in the hospital. I gave him the short version. Family pressuring me for money, medical emergency, them refusing to help, restraining orders. Jesus, that's insane. My mom always thought your parents were intense. But this, next level crazy. I asked how my parents were doing socially. Rowan laughed, not mean, just matter of fact. Let's just say they're not exactly getting invited to many barbecues anymore. It confirmed what I already suspected. The fallout wasn't just in church or the neighborhood. Word had spread. My parents were becoming pariahs, and yeah, part of me felt a little bad. But then I remembered my dad trying to rip my phone away while I was calling 911, and the sympathy vanished. The restraining orders brought other unexpected relief. Work was quieter without them calling HR fishing for salary info. My landlord stopped getting weird inquiries about my lease. Even the gym felt safer. Noah had apparently been trying to accidentally bump into me there. About 6 months after filing, my lawyer called. Your temporary restraining orders are eligible to be made permanent because of violations? I asked. Yep. Your aunt's apartment stunt, the repeated third-party contact attempts, and your brother posting your work address online. Noah had actually put my office building's address on social media with the caption, "Trust fund babies who forget where they come from." It lasted 2 hours before it was reported and removed. What's next? I asked. We'll file next week. They'll get one last chance to contest, but with this evidence, judges usually rubber stamp it. 2 weeks later, the judge did exactly that. My family didn't even show. The packet of evidence and their constant violations spoke for themselves. Same terms, just permanent. From then on, any violation wouldn't just be civil, it'd be criminal. Congratulations. My lawyer said, "You're officially free from legal harassment. If they break this order, they're facing criminal charges." Leo took me out that night for victory drinks. We ordered too much food, watched the game, and sat in peace. "So, what now?" he asked. "Now I get to figure out life without constant family drama. Any regrets? About protecting myself? None. About letting it get this far? Yeah, I should have set boundaries sooner. Hindsight's 20/20, Leo shrugged. What matters is you handled it when it counted." He was right. My phone didn't buzz with guilt trips anymore. My weekends were mine. My money stayed in my account. For the first time in years, life felt calm.as for my family. Word was Mom finally started therapy 2 decades overdue. Dad dove deeper into union activities, probably looking for new people to control. And Noah shockingly managed to hold down a job for more than a few months. 3 months. That's how long Noah managed to keep a job, probably because without family financial backup anymore, he couldn't afford to get fired. Were they growing? Hard to say, but they were definitely facing consequences. And then karma decided to swing by. 3 months after the restraining orders became permanent, Leo called me with news that floored me. "Dude, have you heard about your father?" "No, and I don't really care either." "No, listen. Your dad's got lung cancer. Stage 3. Silence." "What? Are you serious?" "I to you not." That familiar tightness crept into my chest, not my heart condition this time, but the complicated mess of emotions news like that brings. Dad had smoked like a chimney for 30 years before quitting, so it wasn't shocking. But still, cancer. Is cancer? How'd you find out? I asked. Jenny posted on Facebook asking for prayers. Sounds like the diagnosis is new, but they're jumping into treatment fast. Within a week, I could already see the financial pressure mounting in their social media updates. Dad went on unpaid medical leave from his warehouse job. Mom tried to pick up extra diner shifts, but her health made that tough. Bills piled up before serious treatment even began. Noah, being Noah, responded by moving out of the basement and into his girlfriend's place. He called it needing space to process, but everyone knew he just didn't want caregiving responsibilities. 2 weeks into chemo, my phone rang. Mom's number. I let it go to voicemail. "Rick, I know about the restraining order, but this is bigger than our problems. Your father is very sick and scared. We need to talk." Her voice sounded different, less demanding, more desperate, but still laced with manipulation. 3 more calls came that week. Then Noah tried his luck. "Look, I know we've had our issues, but Dad's really struggling. The family needs to come together right now." Even Aunt Celeste, despite her own restraining order, tried to send messages through Liam. According to her, I needed to be the bigger person and pitch in for medical expenses. The last attempt came directly from Dad. A text message, probably because he figured it wouldn't technically violate the no contact order. "Son, I'm scared. The doctors say the cancer is aggressive and we caught it late. I know I haven't been perfect, but I need my family now. Can we put the past behind us?" I showed Leo the text over lunch. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That it's sad, but it doesn't change what they did. Cancer doesn't turn someone into a different person. Same people who refused to call 911 when you were having a heart attack." Exactly. That afternoon, I called my lawyer. He confirmed the restraining order still stood. Any reply could be interpreted as reopening communication. "You have zero legal obligation to provide financial assistance," he said. "And, given the harassment history, you're fully justified keeping no contact. If you want to meet, that's your choice. But I'd strongly advise against direct access." I thought it over all weekend. Dad was sick. Despite everything, I wasn't completely heartless. But I also couldn't erase memories of him grabbing for my phone while I tried to call 911 or telling EMTs I was faking a cardiac episode. By Monday morning, I had my decision. I called Jenny. "I want to contribute to Dad's medical fund, but I'm not dealing with them directly." "How much?" she asked. $5,000. One-time contribution. It was a serious amount, enough to help with immediate expenses, but not enough to create future expectations. Jenny handled it through the family's GoFundMe. I donated anonymously, but word reached my parents within hours. The reaction was immediate and predictable. Dad left a tearful voicemail about how this proved I was still family and we could work things out. Mom sent multiple texts claiming it was the first step toward healing. And Noah, of course, complained that $5,000 wasn't enough given how much money I made. I didn't respond. Treatment dragged on through spring and summer, but Dad responded better than expected. Surgery became viable. Financially, the family stabilized somewhat with GoFundMe help and community support. Still, they sold their house and downsized to a rental. Socially, though, their standing never really recovered after the truth packet. People remained polite and supportive, bringing casseroles, organizing meal trains, but invitations and leadership roles never came back. The distance stayed. Noah eventually landed steady work on third shift at a packaging plant. Decent benefits. Lousy hours, but reliable. He moved back in with my parents after Dad's surgery officially to help with recovery, but most likely because the girlfriend situation had crashed. Summer brought another wave of indirect contact attempts. Father's Day cards routed through Jenny. Birthday wishes delivered by relatives. Invitations to gatherings with promises that everyone just wants to move forward. I declined them all. Instead, Leo and I took a weekend trip to the coast in August. Great weather, great seafood, zero family drama. Sitting on the hotel balcony one evening, he asked the question I'd been dodging. Are you ever going to forgive them? I already have, in a way, just because they're not worth my mental health. But that doesn't mean going back to how things were. They'll never understand the difference. They will eventually. That fall, Dad's scans came back clean. Remission, stable blood work, optimistic outlook from oncology. The family celebrated at Uncle Tom's house. I saw the pictures online but wasn't invited, which suited me fine. 2 years later, my life looks completely different. Same city, same tight friendship with Leo, but a better version of myself. My heart condition is manageable as long as I keep stress low. And surprise, cutting out toxic people does wonders for stress levels. I have a routine now. Gym 3 times a week. Regular cardiology checkups. Actual hobbies. I picked up the guitar again, something I hadn't touched since college. Work took off too. 6 months after distancing from my family, I got promoted mainly because I could finally focus instead of fielding constant crisis calls. And I started dating Zoe. She's a graphic designer, has her own place, pays her own bills, and thinks demanding money from family is absolutely insane. A revolutionary concept. Sometimes I run into extended relatives around town. The conversations are brief, friendly enough. Jenny keeps me updated on essentials. Dad's health is stable. Mom's working part-time. Noah's still employed and, surprisingly, hasn't been arrested. They ask about you sometimes. Jenny told me over coffee. What do you say? That you're doing well and seem happy. I nodded. Good. The restraining orders are still active. My emergency contacts are now people I trust would actually call 911. Holidays are quiet. Exactly how I like them. The last attempt came just last month. Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. Hey, son, she said. I stayed silent for a minute. Mom, why are you calling? I just wanted to ask about you. The family's grown a lot over the past year. Your dad's illness gave us perspective about what really matters. We miss you. We regret what we did. We're ready to start fresh. There's always a chance for new beginnings, right? I don't know, Mom. What do you mean? I'm pretty sure you're faking it, huh? She sounded genuinely confused. No, you already lost me as a son 2 years ago. Maybe even before that. Forget about family healing. I think you only come around once you need something. Rick, you don't understand. Your father and I are being honest. We're really sorry, and I don't forgive you. Silence. Goodbye. Lose this number. I hung up, then blocked her.